Can I speak to somebody at the front desk? I'm in room 539, and I have a call coming into me that's going to probably last about an hour, and I was just wondering if I would be charged for that call. Okay. Well, thank you very much. Okay. Bye-bye.
We'd like to call this evening's meeting of the Peoria City Council to order. Welcome H. Wayne Wilson and his listening audience at WCBU as well as Cable Channel 22. Madam Clerk, the council mics are open for roll call.
Mayor Artis, Councilmember Akeson, Councilmember Sear, Councilmember Grab,
Here.
Councilmember Jensen, Councilmember Montalongo,
Here.
Councilmember Moore,
Here.
Councilmember Euler,
Here.
Councilmember Riggenbach,
Here.
Councilmember Ruckriegel,
Here.
and Councilmember Turner. You have a quorum present, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. After establishing that a quorum is physically present, I would like to read the following in regards to electronic attendance. A notice was received by a member of the City Council in accordance with rules established in Ordinance Number 16142, and the member will be deemed authorized to attend the meeting electronically unless a motion objecting to the member's electronic attendance is made, seconded, and approved by 2/3 of the members of the City Council physically present at the meeting. If no such motion is made and seconded, then the request by the member to attend electronically shall be deemed approved by the City Council and the presiding officer and shall declare the requesting member present. So seeing no such motion, Councilmember Montalongo will be participating in this meeting electronically. At this time, I would invite everyone to join us and stand for a moment of silent prayer or silent reflection, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. We have quite a few proclamations this evening. Before we read those, I want to make an announcement that the public hearing that was noticed to be held at 6 o'clock this evening regarding the proposed annexation of 5363 and 5401 North Big Hollow Road has been canceled due to the annexation request being withdrawn. If there are any citizens here tonight attending specifically for that part of the public hearing has been canceled. We tried to get that information out of there, but just so nobody sat through the whole meeting and found out that the application had been withdrawn. At this time, I'd like to invite our friends from Dunlap High School 323, Dr. Parker and Principal Aldrin, and I think we have many of the board members and most of the rest of the school here with us too. So we'll go with that one first. I was just telling Dr. Parker that it's kind of nice doing a proclamation at the end of the school year because everybody's in a good mood and smiling. Tick-tock, tick-tock, the clock's going. Whereas Dunlap High School, according to U.S. News and World Report, is the highest-ranked academic high school in Illinois outside of the Chicago suburban area, ranking number 24 out of 658 certified high schools in Illinois. And whereas Niche, a national website which uses the most comprehensive data collection of rating agencies on high schools and neighborhoods, ranks Dunlap High School number 14 of 600 schools in Illinois for STEM. Out of 660 schools in Illinois ranked for college readiness, Dunlap High School placed at number 42. And whereas Niche also places the Dunlap Community Unit School District 323 as the number 18 ranked school district in Illinois and number 30 out of 287 for best teachers in the state. Out of the 408 largest school districts in Illinois, Dunlap placed 67. And whereas the Dunlap High School class of 2017 includes 2 National Merit finalists, 27 Sterling Merit Scholars, 89 Illinois State Scholars, and 126 President Award winners. Now, therefore, I, Jim Ardis, Mayor of the City of Peoria, Illinois, do hereby recognize and honor the students, teachers, staff, administration, Board of Education, and the North Peoria Dunlap community for their outstanding academic performance and state and national rankings. I'm going to ask Superintendent Parker to say a few words, and I'm assuming that the principal will say a few words, and certainly the new president of the school board, Karen Disharoon. Actually, anybody that wants to say a few words can say a few words, but I think it's important for us to recognize that sometimes there seems to be in our community this big competition of 323 versus Peoria Public Schools. And while there's that natural competition, and there should be, and competition is important and it's healthy, Peoria is the beneficiary of having 2 good public school systems. And, you know, a lot of times people don't really think about it that over 80% of the kids that go to school at Dunlap are residents of the city of Peoria. It's for some people it's kind of confusing because they don't understand how the boundary lines are drawn and so on. But you know, the state never really allowed, as a community grew, for the school district boundaries to grow with them. So unless there's an annexation of the school districts or a consolidation of the school districts, it doesn't happen. My point is, we are very lucky, and tonight we're recognizing Dunlap 323 because of the outstanding job that they've done and continue to do, the recognition that they get at state and national level, and certainly to encourage that continues for many years to come. So at this time I'd like to recognize and thank Dr. Parker, and she can recognize the rest of the group that she'd like to.
I'm just going to take a couple minutes. As I was driving down here, I was thinking about what I should say when I came up to the podium, and the thing that kept coming to my mind is how proud we are to be part of the city of Peoria and to be recognized tonight from Mayor Ardis and the City Council. As Mayor Ardis said, about 75 to 80% of our students have City of Peoria addresses, and so we've worked real hard to strengthen our relationship with the City of Peoria. They're very supportive of our school district. And so thank you, first of all, for having us here tonight. When I first heard that we were going to get this, I thought, well, who should we invite? And obviously I had a strong showing of support, really with just asking a couple people to ask a couple people. Ended up with our administrative team here tonight, Board of Education, parents, our teaching staff, and really what I consider the most important people in the room tonight would be our students. And we have several students here, in particular from the class of 2017. And so they've graduated, but they came back tonight to show their support of our school district. And I think that's indicative of really the reason why we're here tonight is we have such a vast amount of community support, along with, you know, our teachers are excellent, and it's not just our academics. We have a strong fine arts program, and our athletic program proved themselves, especially over the weekend. So we're proud to be here. I want to thank you for having us here tonight, and we hope to continue to improve our rankings and get invited back again. So thank you.
Well, the principal might not want to talk, but I'm going to ask him to say just a couple words, and I think we'd like to hear from the president of the board, too. Karen Dishmer.
Thank you, Mayor Artis. What I think about when I think about a successful school program, there's all kinds of programs, whether it's in business, whether it's in school. There's certain programs that come by that, hey, this program's going to be great. But at the end of the day, it's people that make the difference, not the programs. The people that implement the programs, that see them through, that care about the programs, that care about the success of the students. It's the people, not only in our building, but the people that support us at home as parents. So we're very fortunate to have supportive parents and very supportive to have teachers that take their job very seriously and remain professional. So those ingredients just result in a great performance for the school. So, and one thing that I want to state is, even though the high school got the ranking, this is a K-12 effort. Every teacher, every student, K through 12, has prepared them for the high school. So this is not a one school situation. So thank you to the lower levels for all the work that they've done, the teachers there. Thank you.
Thank you. And on behalf of the Board of Education and the parents and community, I want to thank Mayor Artis and the City Council for this recognition. Before I was ever on the board, I met with the mayor and some council people when we had a concern. And what struck me is their willingness to be a partnership with our school district and to be helpful and to be available. So we really appreciate that working relationship. We meet with them regularly as a board and staff, and we look forward to working with you moving forward. Thank you so much.
While the group's walking out, I'd also like to recognize the Regional Superintendent of Schools, Beth Derry, who is here with us this evening. And she's in a capacity of a mom tonight, but I did want to recognize her, and also Dr. Bill Collier, who helped facilitate the proclamation this evening. Up next is City Cycle. I believe Don Walsh is here from the Convention Visitors Bureau. And, of course, Casey, and Mr. Barra. Is he going to ride it up here, too? Sure. Whereas Enjoy Peoria and Zagster Inc. announced a partnership that allows residents and visitors to rent and ride bikes all over the city, and whereas the new bike share called City Cycle debuted on May the 19th, with a kickoff ceremony at Peoria City Hall, and consists of 6 locations in the area. And whereas long considered exclusively a big city amenity, this program extends the benefits of bike sharing to a smaller community like Peoria. And whereas the built-in lock on every Zagster bike gives users the freedom to ride as long as they want, wherever they want. And whereas City Cycle Bike Share promises to ease commutes and also unlocks vast recreational opportunities for exercise and fun while allowing riders to move about the area in an affordable way. Now, therefore, I, Jim Artis, Mayor of the City of Peoria, do hereby recognize Enjoy Peoria and Zagster Inc. for the new Bike Share City Cycle in Peoria, Illinois. You know, Don Walsh and his team over at the Convention Visitors Bureau are really working hard to bring new and exciting things into our community, and this one has really gotten a lot of attention in just a few days. So I'd like to invite Don to say a few words, and I'm sure he's going to introduce a couple of other of his teammates to give us some more information. Don?
Thank you, Mayor. This has been a great announcement. Thanks to the press for all the exciting news that you shared with us last Friday and over the weekend. That was terrific, so thank you very much for that. I have here with me Andrew Barra and Kara Allen from our marketing team, and this idea spawned out of our marketing team, so I'd like to ask Kara to tell you a little bit more about it.
Well, we have, like was said, 6 locations in East Peoria, the Heights in Peoria. It's been a couple years in the making, and we're really excited. And a big shout out to all of the sponsors that allowed us to make this happen, including the City of Peoria. To take a risk on a first-year program like this, it means a lot. But it is going to be a great thing for our city. We're really excited about it. So download the app and wear a helmet. Thanks.
I'll say one thing, that with the city really working hard with their Complete Streets program and trying to add bike lanes into town, one of the things that we really want to see is we hope that this kind of helps kickstart people wanting to start riding bikes again, and then that will kind of snowball in hopes that there's more bike lanes. And so if this is one way we can help out, it's a pretty fun way to help out.
Next up is Building Safety Month. We have Director Black, and I believe Fire Chief Laus is going to join us too. Whereas the City of Peoria is committed to recognizing our growth and strength depends on the safety and economic value of the homes, buildings, and infrastructure that serve our citizens. And whereas our confidence in the structural integrity of these buildings that make up our community is achieved through the dedicated work of building safety and fire prevention officials, architects, engineers, builders, tradespeople, design professionals, laborers, and others in the construction industry who work year-round to ensure the safe construction of buildings. And whereas during Building Safety Month 2017, we encourage all Peoria residents to be mindful of the central role of building construction, fire prevention, and disaster mitigation, in ensuring that the places where we live, learn, work, worship, and play are safe. Now, therefore, I, Jim Ardis, Mayor of the City of Peoria, do hereby proclaim the month of May 2017 as Building Safety Month in Peoria, Illinois. So we have both our Community Development Director and our Fire Chief here and some of our inspectors, so I'll let them figure out who wants to talk first.
Thank you, Mayor. Building safety and building codes and fire codes are really the unnoticed part of public safety because the public can go about their day going in and out of different buildings, a building like this, your home, retail buildings, schools, and know that you're safe without having to worry about the structure, about the plumbing, about the fire systems, or about the electrical systems because of the professional building inspectors and fire inspectors that are making sure that all of these structures are built appropriately. So next time you're inside a building, which you are right now, give some thought to everything that is put in place in order to make sure that you're safe inside that building.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. We do appreciate this. We, from the Peoria Fire Department, we greatly appreciate being able to work together with this great department, with the professionals that we're able to work with, work in our community to assure that the buildings that our community goes into is that they are safe and habitable for our community. So thank you very much.
Community Action Month. Mr. Bragg. Whereas community action emerged from the heart of President Lyndon B. Johnson's 1964 proclamation of America's war on poverty, where battles must be won in the field, in every private home, in every public office, and from the courthouse to the White House. And whereas community action builds and promotes economic stability as an essential aspect of enhancing stronger communities, which promotes self-sufficiency and ensures that all Americans are able to live in dignity. And whereas community action has enhanced the lives of millions of people across America by providing essential services such as affordable housing, economic development, health care, energy assistance, natural disaster relief and recovery. And whereas community action will continue to implement innovative and cost-effective programs to improve the lives and living conditions of the impoverished and continue to provide support and opportunities for all citizens in need of assistance. Now, therefore, I, Jim Ardis, Mayor of the City of Peoria, do hereby proclaim May 2017 as Community Action Month in Peoria in recognition of the hard work and dedication of Peoria Citizens Committee for Economic Opportunity, Peoria's Community Action Agency. McFarland Bragg needs no recognition or no introduction, but he's certainly a person who's a pillar in the community and doing a great job. And we'd like to ask him to say a few words now.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. When I started at the agency in '75, our mission has remained the same, and that is to eradicate poverty in Peoria. But as over the last 2 years, without a state budget, that's become a tremendous challenge, not only to community action, but to the majority of the human service agencies that operate in the city of Peoria. In addition, the report, the budget that was presented by our president today zeroed out several programs that provide support, basically life-sustaining support for economically challenged families. Those include the Community Services Block Grant, the Energy Assistance Program, weatherization, and some programs that the city manages, the Community Development Block Grant Home Funds. Those, for the most part, have been zeroed out of this budget. I would encourage you to do two things for us. One is call your state legislators, tell them to get a damn budget done. It's been 2 years. We're the only state in the union that does not have an operating budget. Second, contact both of our state senators and our state reps. Talk to them about those programs that are being eliminated and the impact that it's going to have on the lives of several thousand individuals in the city of Peoria. Thank you.
And now the 120th anniversary of St. Mark's School. We're not going to start till you come down here. Thanks, Dan. Whereas St. Mark's School was founded on the West Bluff of Peoria in 1897, the same year as Bradley University, the current St. Mark's School, constructed on the corner of Bradley and Underhill in 1925, was expanded in 1962 by Pastor Reverend James Fitzgerald, providing an excellent Catholic education to thousands of students for many decades. And whereas one of the strengths of St. Mark's has been outstanding teachers, beginning with the Dominican sisters from Sinsinawa, Wisconsin, and continuing with faith-filled lay teachers today. And whereas St. Mark's has always welcomed immigrant families, resulting in becoming one of the most racially, ethnically, and socially, economically diverse schools in the Diocese of Peoria. And whereas through Mothers and Men's Club, the Stunt Show, the Parish School Association, and the Family Engagement Program, St. Mark's is known for having active and involved families who contribute their time, talent, and treasures to the school. And whereas St. Mark's School has always excelled in extracurricular activities, including basketball, Scholastic Bowl, First Lego League Awards, and annual school musicals, and is dedicated to producing well-rounded students. And whereas St. Mark's School partners with Bradley University, the University of Notre Dame, Westmark Food Pantry, and Headington Oaks for the betterment of our community and the enhancement of the school. And whereas for the past 120 years, St. Mark's School has been a place where Christ is loved, excellence is expected, character counts, and tradition thrive. Now, therefore, I, Jim Ardis, Mayor of the City of Peoria, do hereby congratulate St. Mark's School on their 120th anniversary in Peoria, Illinois. Monsignor Brownsey and Principal Dr. Dillon are both here with us tonight with some other folks from the school, and we'd ask them to say a few words and maybe let us know about the events that you have coming up here very soon, too.
And so among the area pastors, we make fun of each other sometimes. And contrary to what it might look like, what I mostly get made fun of is for bragging about my school too much, all right? And I tell them it's not bragging if it's true, all right? I'm very proud to be the father of the community of St. Mark's, the beacon on the hilltop. We have, as the proclamation said, one of the most diverse of all the private schools in town, one of the most diverse student bodies, both racially or economically. And I just love to see my kids playing together, right? That they get along with each other, and what a beautiful thing that is. Also, when the development board had the idea of having a reunion in the summer, what a great idea. But it's sort of snowballed, and it's going to be a really incredible thing everywhere I go. I think there are almost 500 people so far who have replied that I'm a St. Mark alum, or I want to come and hang out with St. Mark people. And it's rare that I can go anywhere that, well, I went to St. Mark's a long time ago. I went to St. Mark's a long time ago. So as I said, a lot of good reasons to be happy up there on the hilltop.
Mayor Ardis and the members of the City Council, thank you, especially Councilman Graham, for initiating the proclamation. I'm very excited to celebrate 120 years at St. Mark's School, and as you heard in the proclamation, our school motto, a place where Christ is love, excellence is expected, character counts, and traditions thrive. And I'm very much looking forward to our school continuing to thrive. And much of the reason why it does thrive is because of many people behind me, and also because of the many families and students that support St. Mark's and continue to support St. Mark's. The alumni base in itself is quite amazing, and so this 120th year is, I think, a great year in terms of pushing us forward into the future in celebrating the great success and the people that have come out of St. Mark's, and so we look forward to that, and again, thank you for helping us celebrate that tonight.
Last and certainly not least is Councilwoman Jensen is going to join me for the Peoria Academy Scholastic Bowl team. Whereas the Peoria Academy Scholastic Bowl team ended the 2017 season with a record of 18 wins and 6 losses. And whereas the Peoria Academy Scholastic Bowl team won both the regional and sectional competitions, and the Peoria Academy Scholastic Bowl team qualified for the state tournament, and whereas Peoria Academy Scholastic Bowl team has made 8 appearances in the state tournament, finishing third 3 years in a row, 2010 through 12, and fourth in 2013. And whereas overall, Peoria Academy holds the state record for the most consecutive appearances in the state tournament, appearing 5 times from 2010 to 2014. And whereas the Peoria Academy Scholastic Bowl team amplified this momentous season through teamwork, perseverance, and good sportsmanship. Now, therefore, I, Jamar Desmayer of the City of Peoria, do hereby recognize and congratulate the Peoria Academy Scholastic Bowl team, their head coach and assistant coaches, and also Cheryl Merzen, the head of the school, dated this 23rd day of May, 2017 AD. Actually, this is a proud night for us to be giving a lot of our schools the attention and recognition that they deserve, and Peoria Academy is certainly right up there with that. I'd like to ask Councilwoman Jensen to say a few words before we introduce the rest of the team.
Thank you, Mayor Ardis. Of course, as a proud parent, I'm thrilled to recognize the Peoria Academy Scholastic Bowl team, but also as a city council person. The Peoria Academy Scholastic Bowl team, as you heard in that proclamation, has had a stellar record. One of the things I like to point out to people when they come to Peoria Academy, if you go into the gym, I think there's 2 banners for athletics, winning regionals and sectionals and making it to state tournaments. And on the other wall, there's about 8 to 10 banners of the Scholastic Bowl team who's won regionals, sectionals, and made it to state at least 5 times in the last 10 years. So it's a good thing for Peoria Academy, and they did a great job this year. We're very proud of them, and it's good to know that we have lots of great schools out there in the city of Peoria. Thank you to Annette Meyer. She's done an excellent job, and I'm going to turn this over to her.
Thank you to the Peoria City Council for recognizing Peoria Academy Scholastic Bowl team for our accomplishments this year. As a school, we are very proud of our students and all their endeavors. And I've had the pleasure of coaching this team since 2009, and each year I'm just amazed at the depth of their knowledge and their desire to learn. Peoria Academy is very lucky to have such an amazing, talented group of students and a dedicated faculty that works so hard to prepare them for success. And tonight I'm very fortunate to have 6 of them here with me. So Kat Withers, Maya Williams, Margaret Withers, Amanda Tran, Charlie Wentworth, and Aiden Maher. Thank you very much.
Councilman Greb.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the minutes of the regular city council meeting held on May 9th, 2017 as printed.
Seconded by Councilmember Ruckriegel. Are there any changes to the minutes? Seeing none, please cast your ballots. Councilmember Montalongo?
Yes.
That motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Madam Clerk.
Yes, we're at the township portion of the agenda. 17-143 is a communication from the town board with a request to approve monthly anticipated expenditures for June 2017 for the town of the city of Peoria.
Thank you. Trustee Greb.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve.
Motion to approve, seconded by Trustee Riggenbach. Is there discussion on this item? Trustee Jensen.
I have a question about the general fund expenses. And I notice, I don't know what page it is, page 8, that there's a big discrepancy between the total fund expenses budgeted and what's expected. So I don't know if to direct this to Mr. Abner, or if he knows. I don't know if there's anyone else here to speak.
Okay. Being that this is my 6th day on the job, I'll do my best here. I believe they did that to err on the side of caution. The previous months, it's been in that line. So they've had a little reduction in the amount of requests for utility assistance. So there has been, they budgeted down a little bit. Why? I'm looking into that, and I've had some meetings. And if the trend continues, we are reaching out to Illinois American Water, because we're going to start looking at water relief assistance also and a few other programs. But the reason that it was down, I'm just trying to get all the details on that, to be honest.
Okay, and I don't mean to put you on the spot. I guess the way I'm looking at this is for the expenses, and it looks like the township expenses exceed what was budgeted quite a bit.
I don't have a budget in front of me. I did not know this was going to. Did you have one, Beth?
And I know that you just took over in the last month or so.
5 days.
Sometimes when we know about these things in advance,
It would have
and
helped.
let them know that the question is going to be coming, we can be prepared to answer them at the meeting. But
Okay. Myself a little embarrassment. How about, let me do a little diligence on this tomorrow, and I would be glad to get back to you tomorrow.
That'd be great.
Everyone on that?
yeah, there's not a sense of urgency on this thing being approved tonight. We can just move this off to the next meeting, I suppose.
That's fine.
Okay.
That'd be good. Thank you.
Okay.
Fine, one more time what you want, Beth. I want to write this down.
If you look at page 8 of the budget,
Page
under the general fund expenses,
8. The discrepancies? Okay.
yeah, just the main one between the total
Got it.
expenses budgeted and then what's expected as of June of this year.
I will have you an answer within a few days.
Okay,
Or
thank you.
At the next meeting, right?
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Councilman or Trustee, did you want to make a motion to defer?
So moved. Wait,
So you can get motion to defer to the next meeting so you can get your answer?
that I would like to make that motion.
Okay. Seconded by Trustee Grab. Any discussion on that? Seeing none, please cast your ballots. Trustee Montalongo?
I vote to approve.
That motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Item 17-144 is the Town of the City of Peoria financial report for the period ending 3/31/2017 with a request to receive and file.
Trustee Grab?
I would so move.
So moved. Seconded by Trustee Euler. Is there discussion on this item? Trustee Jensen?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And Mr. Abner, you kind of touched upon my question on this budget for the General Assistance Fund, and you and I talked about it outside for a minute before the meeting. But my question here is, what are your plans to do with that extra fund balance? And I think you touched upon that a little bit here a few minutes ago.
Yes. Yeah, we're looking to possibly up where they lowered it by, I think it was $70 on the monthly stipend on the general assistance side. And I'm talking to the attorney, and I need to just look at it and make sure that we may raise that a little bit. But of course, with the national health care bill coming, we're not sure. I'm trying to be a little cautious. I want to err on the side of caution to make sure like before the national health care, their prescription drug payments were like $7,000 to $8,000 a month. They've really lowered. But if there's just so many variables right now. I'm trying to be cautious, but we are looking to raise that.
Okay, and then you also mentioned you might see if you can help with water?
Yes, a water relief program. We're working with Illinois American. I made some contacts with them. We're going to meet next week with them.
Okay, thank you.
Trustee Graham.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to make a couple of observations. First of all, this township board did approve an increase in the township levy because of all the underserved and underprivileged in the city of Peoria. And with the need being so great, the township member office holders met and discussed what the need is, and accordingly we brought forth a proposal that the levy be increased slightly because of all the need in our community. Also, in recent months, we have, and you have approved, a change in our town council to Heil, Reister, Velker, and Allen, and they have been doing, I think, a very good job for us. And we asked them to do a top-to-bottom review of the manner in which our township government is operating. And one of the things that came forth from that review, that top-to-bottom review with our new town council, was the need to have an anticipation of what our expenditures will be in the prospectively for each month. So that's going to be new on the agenda, and so we're trying to make certain we're leaving no stone unturned. And I appreciate the fact that the town board has concurred with our recommendations to both increase the levy and also have a new town council and be sure we're operating everything with absolute probity and above board. And I would encourage any of you who have questions about the township operation to let me or the mayor or the office holder whose department is affected to let us know in advance, so we're sure to be able to give you a very precise answer, especially when we have one new office holder. It would be only fair that we make certain that he come prepared to answer your questions. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Trustee Graham. We have a motion to receive and file and a second. Are there any additional comments on this item? Seeing no lights, please cast your ballots. Trustee Montalongo.
I approve.
And that motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Madam Clerk.
We're at the consent agenda. 17-145 is a request to approve the allocation of $280,000 to Peoria Citizens Committee for Economic Opportunity to build 2 new construction homes on Burhans Avenue as a part of the Illinois Attorney General's National Foreclosure Settlement Funds. 17-146 is a request to accept the low bid of Horowitz Concrete Company in the amount of $180,237 and award a contract for the sidewalks in need of repair for 2017 and Harrison Impact Zone sidewalks 2017 with an additional authorization of $79,762 for a total contract award of $260,000. 17-147 is a request to approve the following items related to the Pioneer Parkway Extension Project, which is Radnor Road to Allen Road. A is an amendment to extend funding obligation AL 13412 associated with a local agency agreement with IDOT for land acquisition efforts for the project. And B is an amendment to extend funding obligation AL 13363 associated with a local agency agreement with IDOT for preliminary engineering for the project. 17-148 is a request to approve the renewal of existing liability coverages with Agronaut through Arthur J. Gallagher Risk Management Services at a one-year cost of $174,869 and to add additional crime coverage at a cost of $2,597. 17-149 is a request to approve a sole source agreement with the Center for Public Safety Excellence for a community risk assessment, a community-driven strategic plan, and a self-management manual as a part of the accreditation process in the amount of $68,800. 17-150 is a request to approve a resolution of the City of Peoria concerning support of the 2016 Economic Development Assistant Program City of Peoria grant application for the reconstruction of North University Street between Pioneer Parkway and Town Line Road. 17-117 is a request to adopt an ordinance amending Appendix A, the Unified Development Code of the City of Peoria, relating to various text amendments. 17-151 is an appointment by Mayor Artis to the Zoning Board of Appeals with a request to concur of Dorian Lassane. 17-152 is an appointment by Mayor Artis to the Planning and Zoning Commission with a request to concur of Christopher Trebold. 17-153 is a report from the City Treasurer Patrick Nichtine for the month of April 2017 with a request to receive and file. 17-154 is a request to approve the committee report, which was the policy session regarding the solid waste contract. And 17-155 is a request to approve the committee report, which is the policy session regarding the water buyout. That completes your consent agenda.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Any items to remove from consent this evening? Councilwoman Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Item 17-146, please.
146. Councilmember Akeson.
17-145, 17-147, and 17-117.
Okay. 145, 147, 117. Not seeing any other lights. Councilmember Montalongo, any items to remove from consent this evening?
No, there are not.
We have a motion to approve the remaining items. Councilmember Reckriegel, seconded by Councilmember Sear. If there's no further discussion, please cast your ballots. Councilmember Montalongo.
I vote to approve.
The motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Madam Clerk.
Item 17-145 is the request to approve the allocation of $280,000 to the PCCEO to build the two new construction homes on Burhans.
Okay. Councilmember Akeson.
Thank you. I just had a few questions about the details of this request. So, on the council communication, all we see is a legislative text, and there are no elevations or no details about what's going to be built. And for more than $250,000, I think that it would be helpful if we could see what we are getting for that type of an investment. That's one. Two, it's been brought to my attention recently that even though I am completely in favor of reinvestment into our heritage neighborhoods, what I don't want to see happen is citizens being encouraged to take on mortgages in neighborhoods where they may be underwater later when they actually go to sell them, or if they have a change in their plans where they have to move away from Peoria. Can you fill me in a little bit more, Director Black, about what type of mortgage situation and the average sales price and perhaps the average value of the homes in this particular neighborhood are?
Thank you, Councilwoman. I'd be happy to, and I apologize that the elevations were not attached to this. I will make sure that the council gets all of the backup documentation for this particular project. This is funding that, just as background, this is funding that the council approved in early 2016 as part of the Attorney General project. And at this point, at that point, it wasn't clear who the actual developer would be for the project. Now we know who the developer is, and we're moving forward. So these are house number 3 and number 4 in terms of new construction on Barron's, which is right off of Wisconsin Avenue. And these houses will be very similar to the 2 that have already been constructed. In terms of price, there is certainly a buy down in the price. I believe that the 2 houses that have already sold for somewhere between $80,000 and $90,000. They certainly are appraising out at that level, or the buyers would not be able to get a mortgage to purchase them. So the question, and I understand your question, that we don't want to create a situation where someone is buying something that when they eventually have to sell it, end up upside down. And that's obviously not the goal of this program, or not the goal of any endeavor that we would be involved in. So beyond not being able to predict the future of the housing market, I would say that as we move forward, particularly with this particular project where there's a real concentration of investment in a relatively small area, instead of sort of a scatter approach where you may have one house that is valued higher than all of the surrounding houses, and therefore the value of that house is going to be pulled down by the surrounding neighborhood. In this particular situation, the approach that's being used is to really focus on a very small area with new construction and also with rehabilitation of existing houses, and then other programs and services that we can bring to the table. So I believe that this would be a solid investment for anyone who would purchase these houses that are proposed to be constructed, and then the 2 houses that have already been constructed.
May I have a follow-up question? Okay, so I understand that, and obviously it would be very ironic that we were using money from the AG grant, which was restitution basically for houses that turned out to be underwater, so to speak, and then we go ahead and invest in neighborhoods and we don't see that kind of property value increase, which we are attempting to achieve. So I get that. Have we had any examples where we've helped assist other agencies, and we have found out that those homes actually are underwater? Because in communication, you said that there was an initiative to encourage other city partners to develop, and you mentioned Habitat for Humanity as an example. And I'm just wondering if we've experienced any of that upside down after 5 or 6 years and people can't get their investment back.
I off the top of my head, no, I can't think of any development where we've had a situation where property owners are upside down. I mean, there may be individual cases, but I don't think it was something that was baked into the program or the service. It was probably just more the market and the timing on the purchase of the property.
Okay, thank you. I just want to be absolutely certain that we're not making matters worse. So thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Riggenbach.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And good questions, Councilwoman Akeson. I think it's unfortunate we don't have pictures to show, and I think a lot of you have probably driven down Barron's because I've certainly made you aware of it, I think. Those 2 new homes that are there are just phenomenal. They are very much in line with the architecture of that stretch of Barron's, and we're really pleased to say that both of those units sold within 30 days of being completed. So the turn time on that was pretty significant, or it was not significant. The demand seems to be there. As far as the concern, clearly as a guy who's been in finance for a long time, making sure that the people purchasing anything are aware of the consequences are significant. And part of this program requires everybody buying the home to experience some credit counseling. That was built into the grant that LISC received from the Attorney General. So I think every safeguard that they could think of was taken to prevent that from becoming a vicious cycle. We have METEC and Novadebt both being partners in this as well, with Busey Bank, Maloof Realty. The list goes on and on. So I appreciate your support for this. As Director Black said, this is something we actually approved in 2016. We just didn't have the developer at that point, so that's what we're doing tonight. So I move for the approval.
Okay. Motion to approve, seconded by Councilmember Gribb. Is there any further discussion on this item? I'm seeing no lights. Hold on a second. I didn't close that last one. Please cast your ballots. Councilmember Montalongo.
I vote to approve.
That motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Madam Clerk.
17146 is the request to accept the low bid of Horwitz Concrete Company and award a contract for sidewalks in need of repair to include the Harrison Impact Zone sidewalks.
Councilmember Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do expect to move for approval on this item, but my question is related to the last sentence in the second to last paragraph on the first page, where it indicates that one of the four that are workers on the project will be a minority. Do we know if that's a woman or a veteran or ethnic minority? And if we do or don't, I would like to know if they're from the 61605 zip code, since this is where the work is being completed.
I'm not sure which microphone you have there. If you can just yell. Okay. But you can go ahead and use that one. It's on. Thank you.
At this point, we don't have that information specifically about what that person would be, whether it be a female or a male minority. As we move forward with this contract, we will be getting that information and verifying that with the contractor.
So then I should hold off on this since we don't know that, and we're going to move forward getting that information, because once the contract is approved, then it doesn't really matter what they say because the contracts have been approved.
Well, we still have, requirements that they're going to have to meet. I mean, I guess your concern is whether that is a male or a female person at this time?
Well, whether it's a female, whether it's a veteran, whether it's ethnic minority, and if they are living or coming from the 61605 zip code.
Mr. Manager?
See, the concern is that, as you all know, that this zip code is primarily African American. It is has a greater than 20% unemployment rate in the African American community. And so every time something comes through that says Council District 1, that's going to be my question. So I think from this point forward, knowing that that's going to be my question, if it's in here, and then members of the community who get these as well will also be able to understand that every time we are looking at these kinds of projects, we are intentional in making sure that we are trying to open up opportunities for African Americans, for women, for Hispanic Americans in our community.
The contractor has made a representation to us through our EEO officer that 25% of the workforce will be minority. We will hold the contractor to that as part of the contract monitoring that we do. He's required to submit certified payrolls to us on a regular basis. We publish that on our website, so we'll be able to stay and monitor and maintain that. If he doesn't maintain the 25% level, we'll stop the project.
And that's helpful, except it doesn't do anything for me knowing whether they're coming out of the zip code that needs the work the most.
I don't know the answer to that. We can certainly look at that and find out where the individual in question is coming from in terms of where they reside. But that, I don't think we have that answer for you this evening.
Because quite frankly, this could be someone coming from Eureka and is a minority. And to the contractor's estimation, he's met that requirement. I would like to see.
And by our ordinance, he's met that requirement.
I would like to see these folks coming from Peoria at the very least, and then coming from the community, if at all possible.
And I think that we can certainly strive for that, and we can look at, and I think as we look at the Folkers project, we're looking at trying to do some things that are different in terms of our contracting at that level with that specific project. But on it, our ordinance is focused on the regional MSA, and it's the requirement based upon that. So that, I think, is if we want to raise that standard, that's a policy question for you as the council to take up.
I like the way you say that, because if it's our ordinance and we draft the ordinance, then we can make the ordinance say whatever we want it to say. And if we're not insisting that workers are coming from the Peoria community, and some at the very least, then we're not doing what we need to do to keep our folks working. So I thank you. I will look for that information to come back. But you bring up a very good point about a policy session on contractors and these contracts that we, to the degree that we can, making sure that there are folks from the Peoria area. Thank you. I move for approval.
Okay. Motion to approve, seconded by Councilmember Riggenbach. Is there further discussion on this item? Councilmember Riggenbach?
That was from last time, sorry.
Oh, okay. Okay, seeing no lights, please cast your ballots. Councilmember Montalongo.
Thank you, Mayor. I vote to approve.
And that motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Madam Clerk.
17-147 is a request to approve the 2 local agency agreements with IDOT for the Pioneer Parkway Extension Project, and we would need separate motions and votes for A and B.
Councilmember Akeson.
Thank you. I pulled this because I think that this legacy project from 2001, it's time that we as a council decide to table this. We have so many infrastructure needs within the community, and the idea that back in 2001, there was a decision to commit future councils to extend a road where the cost would exceed $75 million, knowing that there's nothing there right now. And we have so many businesses. I don't think we probably could get an answer of how many empty buildings there are by district, but I'm going to see if our Director of Community Development can give me a ballpark, because it seems that there are so many empty businesses currently. The idea to spend any money extending a road that for right now isn't going to serve any businesses seems to be foolish at the worst, perhaps, egregious. And I just don't think as a council that we can justify this. I mean, back in 2001, people's expectation of Peoria was that we'd be a city of 280,000 people by now. And we can barely keep our head afloat. And I just think for right now, we ought to table it, see if we can redirect these federal dollars to projects that would serve the community where we actually have people needing sidewalks. I mean, it's kind of, it's revealing when you look at the agenda item we just approved, and we've got neighborhoods begging for improvements all over, And I just think that this is, I just think in 2017, this is not a smart use of whatever funds, regardless of where the money is coming from. And I know that people will say, well, 80% of it is coming from the federal government and grants and state money. Well, the state doesn't have any money. And every bit of motor fuel tax money we can get our hands on, we need to be improving roads that are actually serving residential neighborhoods, commercial corridors, and we can, discuss it when we're flush with cash and the future looks extraordinarily bright. Director Black, do you have any idea how many empty buildings there are?
Councilwoman, I do not, but I can see what I can find, and I can get that information back to the council.
But let's just say ballpark, it's more than 10 per council district.
I think that would be a fair estimation.
I think that's, an underestimation. So we've got probably 50 buildings waiting for businesses to come in, and we're worried about extending a road through farmland for what benefit? And maybe I could ask, this might be putting you on the spot, but can you kind of quickly capture how this came to be in 2001?
Back in 2001, one of the important parts of this, moving forward, is this gets us in a position to be ready to go for construction in the future if the city and the council decides to go that route. There is a lot of land out there that is ready for development, and if you look at the growth of where the city is today and how it's been linear to the north, there's a big void in that area. So one of the things about this is that it does put us in a position that we can move forward in the future.
Okay, and so we already know that we're having a hard time. It's crazy. This is basically saying we are endorsing sprawl and committing ourselves to maintain roads, and we know that we can't maintain the roads we have. It's just totally foolish. I think that we as a council should just say, we're going to put it on hold, we're not going to commit ourselves to this project, and we're going to wait.
I want to ask Director Black or Public Works a quick question, but this has been something that every time an issue comes up on a Pioneer Parkway extension, Councilwoman Akeson has made her feelings felt, and the fact is that a lot of the work that was done in the late 90s and 2000 to establish the growth cells actually has put us in a position to be able to pay for a lot of the needs that we have in this community. If we wouldn't have had the growth cells out there to do that, we'd really be in a bad situation. I think that this is continues to be work that we need to look at doing to allow the opportunities for the city to grow and expand. I don't think that it's sprawl, and I think that the councils in the past have consistently understood that. My question for probably Public Works or Director Black or the manager, whoever wants to answer it, redirecting federal dollars. It's not easy redirecting resources from the federal government. Certainly, they're not going to take motor fuel tax money and let us use it for sidewalks. Correct? And in the past, and I don't know there's the specific rules, but I know that in the past it's been very difficult when we try to say no thanks to the money. So I appreciate the councilwoman's concern. She has never supported growth in that area of the community, which is fine. I shouldn't say never. That's probably a pretty absolute, but in general, never supported the extension of the Pioneer Park, which I think continues to be a smart investment in our future. And I'm hoping that the council will see fit to continue to do the work that we've been doing in hopes that someday we'll get that accomplished, and it won't be anytime soon with the amount of money that needs to be spent. Councilwoman Jensen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And Mr. Mayor sort of touched upon this, but I understand where Councilwoman Akison is coming from, and she's making, some very valid points. So my question is about the timing of this grant. I mean, from what I read in the council memo, it says that it must be extended by May 2017. If we extend that, can that money, do you know, be transferred to a different project?
If the reason for the extension is to continue the work that we've been contractually obligated to do and the reason that we receive these grant funds. And the only other point and that I want to add to this, it's not just the $3.3 million that we've spent to date on Pioneer Park, both state and federal funds on Pioneer Park. It's within Growth Cell 2, we have paid as the city for the sewer capacity in that area of Growth Cell 2. So that area, while it remains undeveloped, the city has financed through Growth Cell 2 the sewer capacity for that area in anticipation that this road was going to be built and that area would eventually develop. Mostly industrial, I think, is what it's zoned within our comprehensive plan. So I think that has been something that we have always had on the table and has been one of the reasons that the city years ago went into the growth cell, was to look at they were seeing that there was a loss of population from the city and a loss of development in the city, and that they needed to, at that point in time, try and capture that growth that was moving on. We just had the Dunlap schools were here. 80% of those students live inside the city of Peoria because of the growth cells.
As a follow-up, in the council communication, you have the total cost is about $75 million for this project.
Right.
And these two grants that we're being asked to extend are for about $2.6 million. Is that right?
Well, there's one grant. The preliminary engineering grant of $2.2 million was completely expended. There are two remaining grants that we have that total just about $2 million. And of those, there's about $865,000 that's left to be spent on those grants.
And then as a follow-up to that, so after those grants, the one that we already expended, and then these two, where does the rest of the money come from to pay for this road project?
Well, this, like many other projects that we have that are considered projects of regional significance, would be, if there's a federal highway allocation, we would look towards trying to capture those federal highway dollars as they come through our Peoria Peak and Urbanized Area Transportation Study, which is PUATS. And we would try and secure those dollars that way, or if there's any other opportunity that may arise as there's new transportation funding bills that are passed by Congress, we would look at trying to leverage those dollars through that process as well.
Potentially, there's a big chunk of money that still the city will have to provide.
Normally on those projects, very similar to Northmore Road, which is a federally funded project, I think, and I'll turn to our city engineer, but I believe that they're 80% funded by the federal government is usually the way that that's structured.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear him.
So it would be a 20%, it's an 80-20 split, so that means 80% funded by the federal government, 20% funded locally.
I have another question. Is there I don't think it's typical for a road project to take this many years, so I guess maybe it is typical.
It depends on the road project. I think Route 53 in Lake County, they would tell you they've been waiting over 30 years for that project to come to fruition. So,
okay, thank you.
Councilman Euler?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Question being, at what point, assuming this is approved this evening, do you anticipate city funds starting to go into this project?
Well, at this point, what we would still be doing is just simply spending the state motor fuel tax allocation, and which is really funds that are distributed to us at the local level, which are obligated for this project, and then the 80% of the federal funds. So that's really the approach that we've been taking all along, is that we've been using that allocation of our state motor fuel tax allocation at the 20% level. So if there's 865,000 remaining, there's maybe 165,000 of state MFT dollars that would be still unspent, roughly.
So based on that, do you have an idea as we look down the pipeline of this project and the timing of what's currently being funded, how many years down the road are we before we're making major decisions on the portion that's our responsibility? And what exactly does voting for this lock us into as far as money out of our cash situation?
What this locks you, we've already set aside these funds as part of the capital budget, so those dollars are segregated right now. What this obligates you to is an additional 2 years of doing right-of-way acquisition, some of which we're contractually obligated to do for Notre Dame High School. That was part of the agreement as Notre Dame was looking at their expansion of their high school, or their construction of their new high school, that we were obligated to tie into. And then it would be really subject to, what type of federal infrastructure or highway funding bill comes forward, and how that money rolls through the PUATS committee.
Councilman Gribb.
Mr. Chairman, when I first came here in the mid-'90s, we had another mayor, Mayor Jim Maloof, who was a strong advocate, and the councils back then were very strongly advocating for the development of the growth cell strategy to help expand our city and our tax base. And we were very much aware of what had happened to District 150 when it became landlocked as a school district and unable to expand. And tonight we saw what the end result of that was, and we had basically a very vibrant school district, yet another school district within the city of Peoria. We have all are part of 5 school districts within the city of Peoria come here tonight to be recognized for their outstanding performance. So growing the city out has not diminished, certainly my district, nor the districts to the south. If anything, it has expanded our tax base, which helps to pay for many of the needs that we disproportionately need in the heritage neighborhoods to the south. We must never allow this city to lose focus on the need to grow and to service businesses. Short-term concern about economic downturn or whatever should not drive our long-range policy. And we have strategic planning sessions from time to time. I think we need to stick to it, the program, and continue to grow. I would also say that these funds may not be there in the future. Today we had out of the current administration in Washington, a proposal to basically slash trillions of dollars from our spending over the next 10 years. And this is going to have a huge impact on the city of Peoria, on all municipalities. Certainly in the 2nd District, we're hearing that it's possible that if this budget passes, hopefully it won't, our Northern Regional Research Lab will be closed, which, of course, helped to mass produce penicillin, which has saved millions of people's lives. So having worn the district hat, which I wear now, as well as the at-large hat, I can tell you that what benefits the northern part of the city does not diminish the southern part. Currently, I see a lot of energy coming back to the heart of our city. And we need look no farther than the warehouse district and some of the wonderful strategies that I know Councilman Moore has helped to shepherd through to get more people living downtown. It's been a focus of this council to do that. I just think we've got to be very careful that we don't let these funds go, because God only knows what's going to happen in the years ahead with this type of funding level that we have. So I do see it ultimately redounding to the benefit of my district. I'm now wearing council district hat too. But more importantly, and just as importantly, the city of Peoria, because we sink or swim together. And so that's why I'll be supporting it as a continuation of the growth cell strategy and development, which has caused, for example, another school district to form, which may very shortly be half the size of District 150, which is landlocked. So I think we need to learn from our past. And this has been discussed and debated for quite some time. I've seen this go back and forth for a couple, 3, 4 years or more, going back to the early part of the century when I sat here. So I'm reluctant to see these funds slip through our fingers with what's happening in Washington and possibility they will never come back. And we will need that extension, I believe, soon and definitely in the future. So I will be supporting this. I haven't heard from the 5th District Councilman, because normally I like to go with the recommendation that he or she makes, unless it's a foolish recommendation, in my opinion. I try to support my fellow district councilors. But that's where I'm coming from, given my knowledge of where the city's been going with the growth cell strategy through these many years, which really began in earnest under Mayor Maloof.
Thank you. Councilmember Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do have a question as to what would occur. I see it says if denied, the grant funding deadline to support ongoing design and land acquisition activities will expire in May 2017. So 2 questions. Why does this come so late? I mean, this is the last meeting in May of 2017, and here we are talking about this as if this is a sink or swim opportunity at this point, because this is the last meeting of this month, and it's going to expire at the end of this month this year. So I would like to have someone address that.
Well,
and then,
okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
and then what is the actual amount of funding that we're talking about coming from the city side? I know it's 80% of this we'll have to pay for, but how much are we specifically talking about that this extension would commit the city to?
There is, IDOT is asking us to execute these contract extensions. So that's the reason why we're going forward and asking you to approve these contract extensions. The funds that have been set aside in the project that remain from the state MFT allocation is 20% of the $865,000. So I think it's roughly about $173,000. I was off with my math. So it's about $173,000 that remains. Of that, as I was looking at it, it's about $26,000 remaining on the design work and $147,000 for the right-of-way acquisition.
IDOT is asking us to extend this. Did they just ask us about this last week? I mean, I'm really irritated with IDOT jerking us around on stuff that we need to get done in our city, and they don't come along until the last minute or not at all, or 3 or 4 years down the road. So was this a request that just came through?
That I can't answer. I'd have to check with Public Works Director Reese and get you an answer back on that.
That is something is added to our agenda, and we are given, we're under the gun, really, to get this done if we're going to move this forward. I would like not to be under the gun, if at all possible. So if I could recommend that as we go forward, you give us a little more time, because at this point, there's not a whole lot we can do except to say yes or say no.
Councilmember Sear.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move to accept this request.
Motion to approve, seconded by Councilman Ruckriegel. I still have, did you want to make a comment on this, Councilman? Okay. Additional comments, Councilwoman Akeson.
Thank you. One of the council members mentioned the motor fuel tax or any of the funding that we use for road projects. And I know that there are 3 roads in particular that citizens commonly refer to as needing help: Willow Knolls, Lake, and Glen. And those are all county-owned roads. So when Puetz has their meeting and those roads are discussed, if we were to deny this request, Could those roads get addressed?
No. I mean, you have $200,000. That $200,000 is, let's take Lake, the section of Lake that we're talking about, which is between Knoxville and Sheridan. That stretch there, I believe, was a $500,000 project. So you would get halfway there to getting that done, and that's assuming that the city wants to say to the county, we're going to move away from our long-standing tradition, our long-standing intergovernmental agreement that we have that says if we improve a road inside the city, you're going to build it to the city's standards. So that's just, and moving in that direction. I think that it's not a significant amount of money when we're talking about that. That was the reason why the county went forward with they don't have any funds at this point in time to do those roads. That's why they went forward with a referendum to say this was something that they need to do to raise those funds to get those projects completed. So you could do a portion, but you could not do all three or one in its entirety with that.
And one more follow-up, and I think someone else mentioned that we've had this discussion on and on and on, but I don't believe that there has been any community discussion about this. I don't think that it's been very recent that we've actually engaged our citizens to have them voice their opinion, and I would bet you that citizens have asked would rather see Lake, Glen, Willow Knolls, and a whole other list of roads improved before we start tearing up cornfields. I just think that we are at a stage in 2017 that is so dramatically different than it was back when these ideas were brought forward. And I just think we're doing a disservice to the citizens, and I don't think they really care whether they're county roads or city roads. They just know that the roads are in bad shape and they want them fixed. So, I mean, I have made myself clear. And by the way, Mr. Mayor, I am not against growth. I'm for smart growth at the right time, at the right place, for the right reasons. So, just...
And point taken, I tried to pull that
I
one
know,
back.
and I accept that. Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion, a second. Councilman Montalongo, did you have any comment before we make this vote?
Mayor, I'm going to be supporting this tonight, and I hope that we can have discussion about this in the next couple of weeks when we have our strategic planning. I think it'll be very important for us to have that discussion, but I certainly don't want to have us risk losing money or any grant opportunities, but I certainly hope that we can have this on our agenda during our strategic planning. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second on item A, and I'm seeing no more, or we do have more discussion here? Okay. Councilwoman Jensen?
Thank you. Just to follow up on Councilwoman Akeson's point about having public input, I would request if this is approved and then this issue comes up again, which it will, if we schedule some public meetings to have some public input, that would be citywide and not just in the 5th District, because I think it is a very important discussion and an important issue that we're facing, and it has changed given our budget and given the conditions of our roads.
Councilman Grabe.
The more things change, the more they stay the same. Mr. Manager, I believe we've hired other facilitators to come in to help us with strategic planning, and I'm sure you can find some record of what, and City Clerk Beth Ball, as to what the rationale was for this. In terms of previous city councils going back to the 90s, mid-90s, late 90s, early part of the 21st century. What the vision was, what the strategy was, it remains a good strategy now. This did not come out of nowhere. This has been out there for years. We have been engaging the public for years on this. Many, many votes came before tonight's. Why it came late, I don't know. But you know what? I have been on this council long enough to know that everything happens for some reason at the last minute, and it's usually Tuesday. That's why you see me scurrying in here, usually about 8 minutes until 6, because everything is put off to the last minute. That part of it I get and I don't like. But this did not come out of nowhere. This has been in the planning phase. Want to look up there on the wall and look at the pictures of the mayors, going all the way back to Mayor Maloof. This growth cell strategy has been something that we've been implementing to grow our city, not to become landlocked and poor and having all the problems that District 150 is currently suffering. And so it was a good strategy, it remains a good strategy. It does not diminish the areas to the south, not one bit. If anything, it helps. And a lot of the growth that's occurred to the north has helped the heart of the city. Make no mistake about it, and has helped the heritage neighborhoods. And those people who don't think that ought to take a look at the tax base and some of the taxes that are paid by the people in the 5th District. So we have to work together. And there was a time, of course, we can say, the growth cells were built on the core, the heart of the city. But now some of that money that was used from the old city to build the new city is coming back to the heart of our city. So it's an ebb and flow, and this is the way it's going to be. And our city is not unusual. If you take a look at the development of cities in terms of urbanology, this is nothing new. It's not unique to Peoria. With what's going on in Washington, what you're reading in the headlines, what could be happening to these funds, we would be absolutely crazy to let these funds slip to our hands, because we know we're going to need this road eventually, if not relatively soon. And I am not one who believes that we should be in the doom and gloom phase because of Caterpillar. We've had countless other business people come in here and say, matter of fact, one of our biggest employers in the city, the Bradley University president, came in and said, I'm Gary Roberts, president of Bradley University, and we're here to stay. And I hear that over and over and over again. So we need to move forward with some confidence and stop this trepidation and an atmosphere almost of contraction and depression, because this is going to create more problems for us than any Caterpillar announcement. We need to move forward. And we need to fight for everything we can possibly get for our city, and that includes these funds, and not let them slip to our hands. Mayor, I can remember when we had a big fight. As a matter of fact, I see the name Congressman Ray LaHood here, who helped secure this funding for us. And then Representative Leach, another great statesman. My goodness gracious, I remember one night we were going to not fully fund a COPS grant when we needed the police officers to do all kinds of things for the city. And this was just before Christmas. Ray LaHood had gone to bat for us to deliver for this city because we asked him to do this. And we asked our state lawmakers to do this. Now, all of a sudden, we're going to turn our backs on them when they fought for us? I don't think so. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, we're voting on item... Yes, Councilman Montalongo.
I'd just like to make one comment real quickly. To have discussion in our strategic planning, I just want to review the facts and just kind of take a look where we are, what progress we made. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, and maybe we find out there's some areas that need to be improved, and this will give us our opportunity to have discussion about that during our strategic planning. Thank you.
Thank you. Motion on the floor is to approve item A. If there's no further lights, I'm seeing none. Please cast your ballots. Councilmember Montalongo.
I vote to approve.
That motion passes with 9 ayes and 1 nay. Voting no, Councilmember Akeson. On item B, Councilmember Sear. Need a motion on item B?
I move to move forward this item B, please.
Okay, motion to approve, seconded by Councilmember Graham. Is there discussion on this item? Councilmember Montalongo?
I vote to approve.
Okay. I was just asking for comment.
Oh,
That's
sorry.
okay. At this time, please cast your ballots. Now Councilmember Montalongo, I apologize.
I vote to approve.
Okay. And that motion passes with 9 ayes, 1 nay, voting no. Councilmember Akeson. Thank you. Madam Clerk.
Item 17-117 is a request to adopt an ordinance amending Appendix A, the Unified Development Code of the City of Peoria relating to various text adjustments.
Councilmember Akeson.
Thank you. I move to defer this to the second meeting in June so that we can discuss some of this during our strategic planning session.
Motion to defer, seconded by Councilwoman Jensen. Is there discussion on the deferral? Seeing none, please cast your ballots. Councilmember Montalongo.
I vote to approve.
Okay. And that motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Madam Clerk.
We're at a first reading. 17-156 is a request for a first reading review of an ordinance amending Chapter 5 of the Code of the City of Peoria, requiring a 30-day demolition review period for all demolition permits.
Councilmember Riggenbach.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to thank Director Black and the manager for getting this before us tonight. I think, just thinking back a little bit in my time on the council, this has been something we've talked about in one shape or the other for a number of years, and it really lit a fire with some in the community last summer with a house on Fry that was literally within hours of being saved, so having a 30-day window would be a great thing. So, like I said, this has been a long time coming. We appreciate the efforts on it, and Councilwoman Jensen, I know, has been active on this, as well as Councilman Ruckriegel, and I heard comments from Councilman Euler before he was Councilman Euler on this as well. So I think this is something that we can all wrap our arms around and be enthusiastically supporting it. So I'll move to receive and file for the final reading.
Motion to receive and file, seconded Councilman Ruckriegel. Further discussion, Councilman Ruckriegel.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you also for staff for putting this together. I go back to the days of HPC, sitting as a commissioner on there, and I think that we had the conversation on demolitions and worked through some staff adjustments there that were, I think, beneficial for all of us. And I know we talked this afternoon, but for the listening public, can you kind of walk through how the process would work with the 30 days and sort of what that kicks into, and then the length of time, I guess, really even after that, because that becomes a period of notification, but there's actually some working time beyond that that can actually go through. So if you wouldn't mind just kind of, for the listening public, kind of walk through those steps for us.
Thank you, Councilman. The proposal before you this evening is a very simple approach to this. We looked at what other communities had put in place, and we found that that we think we can do this in a far more streamlined fashion, particularly after the council removed 340 pages of regulations from the zoning ordinance last year. I really didn't want to get into the business of starting to add multiple pages back in. So the way this would work is if someone comes in to apply for a demolition permit, they would fill out the application, they would provide us the application, and at that point, that's when this 30-day period begins. The address and the information on the property would be posted on the city's webpage, and then there would be a public notice sign that would be placed on the property, similar to the public notice signs that we use for the various land use commissions. At the end of the 30 days, if there's nothing that comes along that would otherwise stop the demolition from going forward, then at that point, the permit would be issued and the demolition could proceed. There is no, as the conversation that I had earlier today with the councilman, there is no requirement to demolish once a permit is issued. It's simply the approval to demolish. So someone could get a permit to demolish a structure and then 2 weeks later decide that they're not going to demolish it, and there's no penalty for doing that. And also in terms of how long that permit is valid. Building permits, including demolition permits, are valid for 12 months after they're issued. So 30-day waiting period, permit for the demolition is issued, and then in theory they have 12 months to complete that demolition, or they simply come back in and renew the permit.
Have there is, while we're talking about 30 days here, conversations that start in those 30 days actually could go longer, and so it really can actually increase that reprieve for a demolition to where there's some really good work time in there, because it's not that everything has to be buttoned up in those 30 days. It actually can extend longer than that. Is that correct? Great. Thank you for your work on this.
Yeah. Thank you. Councilmember Jensen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Director Black and City Manager Urick, for bringing this forward. It is, as Councilman Riggenbach mentioned, something that I've been advocating since the demolition of the Fry House and even before that. So I commend you and thank you for doing this. I think it's an important step to make sure that we save historic buildings and homes when they can be saved, and make sure that neighbors and others that are advocating for historic preservation have notice that a demolition is going to occur at such locations. So thank you very much.
Is there further discussion on this item? Seeing none, we have a motion and a second. Please cast your ballots. Councilman Montalongo?
Thank you, Mayor. I approve.
That motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Madam Clerk.
We're at regular business. 17-157 is a request to approve the intergovernmental agreement between the City of Peoria and the County of Peoria to delegate the siting process of a pollution control facility within the corporate limits of the City of Peoria to Peoria County. And on your desk is a yellow handout that is a replacement agreement.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Riggenbach.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At the request of the city manager, I would ask for a deferral to the second meeting in June on this item.
Okay. Motion to defer. Is there a second? Councilman Ruckriegel. Discussion on the deferral? Seeing none, please cast your ballots. Councilmember Moore? Thank you. Councilmember Montalongo?
I approve.
Okay. And that motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Madam Clerk.
17-158 is a request to concur with the recommendation from the Planning and Zoning Commission to adopt an ordinance approving a special use in a Class WH warehouse form district for waivers to allow signage for the property located at 812 Southwest Washington, or to approve the recommendation from staff to deny the ordinance approving the special use at the same location.
Okay. Thank you. Councilmember Moore?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wasn't going to speak on this, but then I thought I probably should remind some of us who were here when we first brought this up. The council mix has changed, so that's why I decided to speak on it. This particular item is in reference to a building that you're probably all very familiar with. It's called Builders Warehouse downtown in the Warehouse District. And it's appropriate that it's called Builders Warehouse because it was in the Warehouse District before the Warehouse District was the Warehouse District. This was a building that was a business that was in operation, and when most folks didn't think of coming downtown to that part of the fancy smancy warehouse district because they thought it was dirty and dank and that kind of thing. But yet, the business owner, Mr. Coker, decided to stay there, and he made a thriving business there, and people came down there because of his business. While he's been there, we've had changes in ordinances and changes in rules and regulations and all that kind of stuff, and he stayed there. And I think I like the tagline, no heat, no air, just good prices, or something to that effect. And I can attest to it. There is no air in there in the summer, yet I continue to go back there because I appreciate what the value that I get when I go there. And so here we are today, some many years after they've been there, and they've come to the city and they have decided to change some signage on their building. And the first thing I said was, where do I sign? Well, no pun intended. Because of all what they have provided the city, the tax base that they have put back into the city coffers, and continue to do so. They're also very active in the communities with nonprofits, and even without that, I think the fact that they've been down there as a business concern, generating taxes, generating employment, and has stayed throughout all that has gone on down there with all the $25 million development of Washington and the hit your business took. Mr. Coker is here, that's why I'm looking in that direction. The hit, if you could wave so folks know I'm not just talking to the window there, thank you. The hit that his business took when we successfully remade Washington Street, difficulty with getting people in the door, where is the door, how do I get down to the street to get to the door, and all of that. And I think at this point, he's been a faithful Peoria business owner who has earned the opportunity to get an exception from this council, and at this point I'd like to move for approval of item A of 17158.
Okay. Seconded by Councilmember Euler. Is there any more discussion on this item? I would just like to, in addition to what Councilmember Moore said, also thank the Cokers for their significant investment in the warehouse district, persevered through a lot of construction and a lot of other things, to say the least. And also to Councilmember Moore, who pulled everybody together, including community development and the business owners. And I think we got to a point where we got a nice product out of this that's not going to hurt or be a detriment to the warehouse district because of what they're doing. We hope you're there for a much longer time to come, and we appreciate that investment. Thank you very much. I'm seeing no further lights, so we have a motion to approve. If there's no further discussion, please cast your ballots. Councilmember Montalongo?
I vote to approve.
Thank you. That motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Madam Clerk?
We're at unfinished business.
Do we have any unfinished business to come before the council tonight? Unfinished? Last call. Seeing none? Well, since Councilmember, I'll wait till new business. Okay, go ahead. I was going to say unfinished because we do it every year, but no unfinished business. Madam Clerk.
We're at new business.
Since Councilmember Turner isn't here this evening, I'd just like to make a quick mention that the annual Community Memorial Day festivities are at the Peoria Riverfront again this year. It's a fantastic event. And I would encourage everyone in the community to try to come down to the Gateway Building and pay respects to the members of our community who have paid the ultimate sacrifice in service to our country. They can get information on the festivities and other festivities in the community at our website. Further new business, Councilmember Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I first would like to thank someone who was on the zoning commission who just recently stepped off, and that's Mr. Wes Duran. When there was an opening on that commission, I went out looking for someone who would be willing to serve, and he stepped up after I twisted his arm a little bit. But he stepped up and he served just a little longer than he anticipated serving. But I just wanted him to know, and the community in general to know, that the service of folks like Mr. Duran as a volunteer is really vital to us getting our work done. We can't do what we do without the volunteers who serves on our various boards and commission. So I just wanted to thank Mr. Duran for his work. The other item is to address what may be the elephant in the room for a lot of folks, And that's the announcement that we got today, that the Save-A-Lot on Western is closing June 2nd. To say that it was somewhat gut-wrenching for me is an understatement. Dr. Leslie McKnight in the city manager's office worked diligently to bring that grocery store here. For some of you who may think it was just an easy breezy thing to do, it wasn't. We had gone to Save-A-Lot once already. We'd gone through every grocery concept at least twice when Save-A-Lot came on board. So this wasn't they didn't come to us and say, oh yeah, we just want to run down and do this with you. That wasn't the way it was. And so here, just under a year, them being there, they're closing. Now, part of that is some of what's been said out there about the similar kind of circumstances. Aldi is incorrect. The store has quality merchandise, quality foods, quality fruits and vegetables, and fresh meats with a butcher on site. And so that was never in dispute. There was some concern with some residents about the availability of certain sale items, how many were available when the sale was there. There was some concern by some members of the community about the pricing of some of their product. And so that's kind of a retail thing. Some things are higher, some things are lower than the next place you go to. But what also we need to remember, and what we may not know, is that before Save-A-Lot, since Save-A-Lot opened, there has been no less than 4 up to 6 additional convenience store concepts within a half a mile of the Save-A-Lot. So before Save-A-Lot, these things didn't exist. After Save-A-Lot, fortunately, we have Dollar General that built from the ground up across the street. We had Family Dollar down the street. One business inside of what we call the ShopRite Plaza that went from a clothing concept, changed his whole business model, and now he's a convenience store. A restaurant that's on Western brought in racks, and now he carries dry goods, diapers, milk, that kind of thing. There's another one, I can't remember the name of it now, but there are at least 5 additional concepts in convenience store offerings that wasn't there before Save-A-Lot built their store. And so as you heard on some of the information that was reported, it was because of the store wasn't performing as they would have hoped. Well, if you've got 4 or 5 additional concepts similar to yours that come in after you open, then there's a reason why it's not performing. And then additionally, we have to also look at ourselves. If you can't remember the last time you were in Save-A-Lot and you live in the area, well, that could be part of the problem as well. So there's a lot of concern all around about the reasons why. It is not just Save-A-Lot, it is not just the community, but it's the congregation, if you will, of all of those things that I talked about that occurred that is driving them away. They're not going somewhere else, they're just closing. We are scheduled to speak with them more in depth beyond what you've read in the paper or you've seen in the announcement that they made. I think the announcement was maybe 3 or 4 sentences long. So we will engage them in a longer conversation, and at a later date, if there's additional information that comes out as a result of that, I will pass that on to you. But here we are again. One of the first things, I've received a lot of phone calls and texts asking, so what do we do next? Well, until we find out if there's any requirement on that building. If you will recall, when Aldi closed, Aldi indicated that there was a non-compete initially, that another grocer could not go in there initially. And then later on they relented, and they allowed us to go out and get another grocer. I am hopeful that is what's going to be the case this time. One of the things you may have seen me get up and show the city manager, I received a text from the building owner who wants to meet. He heard the news himself, and he wants to meet. He wants to talk about bringing in another grocery store. So already that is encouraging. So I would say to the First District and to the South Side in particular, you know me to be a very optimistic person. I'm optimistic that just as we were able to bring someone in, Save a Lot in, that we will be able to bring someone in to fill that void. The good thing about that building is that when Save a Lot came in, they did a lot of upgrades. Aldi had been there a long time, and there were upgrades that were needed. Save a Lot did a lot of upgrades. This is virtually a brand new building inside for whoever might want to come in next. So if you know of anyone, if you know of a concept, if you're sitting out here now and say, hey, I want to bring a grocery store, just look me up on the City of Peoria website. My number's right there, and we can have a conversation about that. One thing you can believe about Save a Lot leaving out of here, they received not $1 of city funding to rehab that building, to come in here. They didn't receive any city incentives. They came in with their own wallet, and they did all the improvements themselves. So if that makes some folks feel better that there was no city funding involved, then go with that. But thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Graham, under new business.
Thank you, Mayor Ardis, Liquor Commissioner Ardis as well. That's another one of the hats that you wear, in addition to being chairman for our town board. I have been made aware of some allegations of racial discrimination involving some of the liquor stores within the city of Peoria, and I think all of us should be very concerned about these allegations. Accordingly, Mr. Corporation Counsel, I am requesting a report back from you as to the provisions of the City of Peoria Code that could be applicable to any such discriminatory conduct, and what the city can do under our code or other applicable law to combat such discrimination if it is proven. And that's my request.
Okay, thank you.
Graham, before the next council meeting.
And also, if we get contacted in reference to any procedures that citizen could utilize to make a complaint that would be investigated, we would immediately be happy to do that. We don't have to wait for a report back on that, but I'm sure that this body would be remiss if it did not get that report back at our next regularly scheduled meeting and be able to respond to any concerns even before then. Thank you, Mayor Ardis.
Thank you. Further new business to come before the council tonight. New business. Councilman Montalongo?
No, I don't have any. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That's it, Madam Clerk.
We would be at citizens' opportunity to address the city council.
Okay, citizens to address. We need name and address for the record, please. We have a 5-minute speaking limit, and up first is Kelly Mammon.
Kelly Mammon. I live at 2631 North Peoria in Peoria, 61603. I'm here to say, and I'm surprised myself, Beth, Councilwoman, too many Beths. Councilwoman Akeson, I support you 100% when it comes to the issue of the growth cell and the roads. Just hearing here today, we've heard that the regional lab is closing, Save-A-Lot's closing, Office Depot is closing, and those are just today. I understand the growth cell out in Pioneer Park, but I'm here to tell you, I've lived in this city all my life. That area used to be Richwoods Township until the city of Peoria took it over and annexed it. I see that we can grow out there, but I think before we grow out there, we need to fix our dying city. Look around. The roads are horrible. We have empty houses. We have empty businesses. I understand wanting to grow and go out there, but why can't we fix some of this first? It's getting to be pathetic. I don't know how many of you drive around the city. I live in the East Bluff, and it's dive for cover. You know, you hear shots at night, you hear burglaries, car burglaries. You know, the Peoria Police Department does as good as a job as they can, thanks to Chief Mitchell. But it's getting to be summer. It's not enough, and I think we need to put money in other places and maybe put off the growth cell for a little bit. We're all going to be seeing the growth cell grow, and the city of Peoria is going to be deader than it is now. And I love the city of Peoria. I'm tired of the people leaving. I'm tired of the stores leaving. Every day it's another new store. Yes, the economy's bad. Illinois doesn't have a budget, but we are Peoria strong. We got to get up and we need to start fighting for some of this stuff, getting our roads fixed. And maybe eventually we can go out more in the growth cell. I don't want to be the only one living in the city of Peoria when everybody's living out in growth cell too. This is what started this city. Well, actually, Richwoods Township did. Thank you.
Next up is Donald Tutt.
Pleasure to be down here speaking. I had an opportunity to meet some of you folks in the past. I would like to talk about the growth cell in the north as well. I want to address it from a slightly different perspective as Kelly, who gave me a ride down here and we argue about everything, but we're still friends. I think that Councilman Euler and Councilperson Akeson's words were glossed over. I don't think those questions were answered. I think that we looked at the wall and we talked about the past and how what happened in 2001 is a dedicated commitment to 2017, and it's not. Those were fine words and fine speeches, but they are not committed to the future of Peoria. Just because something was done in 2001, why are we then following that path in 2017? And I am not doom and gloom about Caterpillar leaving. The folks that are leaving from Caterpillar, I wouldn't have met. They weren't the people that were going to shop at Save-A-Lot. And I think sometimes we need to celebrate the fact that a lot of CAT is staying. We need to keep that in mind, that we still have a great deal of people that are staying here. But we cannot tie growth to the past. It is too easy to talk about pictures on the wall. And I have a son with cancer, and the Maloofs have dedicated a great deal of money to this city that have helped me directly, so it is no disrespect to the past. But we've got to look at what is going to help this city. And I just know a little bit about federal funding. It's not going to be about, you can't always take dollars that were designated for one area and put it on a street on the East Bluff. That is factual. But I think sometimes we need to take a look at where we are growing. And because we were growing in 2001 in that direction, what does that have to do with 2017? If there are 10 buildings per section that are empty, why are we still looking at that like, well, that's a commitment to the future? That's a sentence. That is not a business economic statement. And anyone who disagrees with things like that loves the city as much as this distinguished gentleman that spoke so eloquently on its behalf. Disagreement on these things doesn't mean we can't come to a consensus and move forward, because I do think that Peoria has a lot of potential. Medical is now the biggest employer in the area. Everyone's aware of that, right? So if economic development was to work in conjunction with the proper groups to make sure that medical production facilities were going out in that direction, so that we've got to get those buildings filled. If we go out there and we now have more mileage of road with more 10 empty buildings per space, even if we grow properly, do you know how long it would take to fill those buildings? This promise of a commitment made in 2017 will not be finished for another 18 years. We'll be looking at a next generation of people and hope that they agree with what we said in 2001. The changing demographics of Peoria, the changing business needs, they're shifting a great deal. And we've got to be thinking forward on that. Whether something comes up in a meeting a day before it has to be approved or not, that is not mine as a citizen's concern. But one thing that is my concern is I'm in Peoria in 2017 on a nice afternoon in the spring, of 2017. We've got to keep our vision forward. And the reason why there's a small rearview mirror on a vehicle is because we have to look ahead. I do not think that decision that was made this evening was looking ahead. It sounded like it. The speech sounded good. But what about what Councilperson Akeson said? What about the issues addressed by Councilman Euler? You can't quick sell something because the person speaking for it does it eloquently. And I have to tell you something. I don't ever want to lose federal funding. But what about the money that the city has to commit? Isn't that really a bigger issue than we got to discuss? We sort of glossed over that a couple times saying, okay, this is what we'll do moving forward. It is an honor to have an opportunity to address the Peoria City Council and the Honorable Mayor Ardis. Thank you so much for your time. But I think we have to sometimes not look so much to the past. And the people that talk budget issues, they have to be heard, not drummed out. Thank you.
Mr. Sierra?
Sierra, 1708 South Stanley, First Ward. It isn't too bad if you look at the past too, because like I brag, you know, them were the glory days for Peoria as far as really being alive, really alive. And what happened with some of our city, it moved, and they forgot about us down there in the First Ward, and we got a few things down there right now, but it isn't nothing like it used to be, and it was really alive. We had all kinds of stuff down there. Anything you wanted, you could find it down there. And so it's sad that we don't have that, what we used to have. But what I'd like to talk about demolition, you know. It's a good idea if you have a 30-day waiting period, but already there's a lot of structures down in the south side there, and even in the city. But I'm talking about the south side that have been just standing there, and they're really in bad shape. You know, there's one on Antoinette and Shelley Street that's been there a sore looking thing for a long time. That should have been torn down a long time ago. And I hope you get to it pretty quick, because, and we ought to try to get some contractors that know how to build them and want to make some money, you know, encourage them to get into that business of building houses like the Becker brothers did for a long time. And this is what we need. We have to find some contractors that I'm not talking race or whatever. If they're if they're qualified and know how to do these things, we should try to encourage them to get on the wagon. And one more thing. You know, I told you we shouldn't have to buy the water company, and I'm strong on that. I don't want us to buy the water company because you're going to be in for a lot of expenses that you haven't even know what's going to happen. I've worked around there at the water company at the plant down there on the Galena Road. I painted the fire hydrants, you know. Just that, you know, would cost you a lot of money because they let them get all rusty and everything. And that's where it gets expensive in the prep work. So I hope you people quit talking about that and keep asking questions and discussing. Let's get it over with and find something else to talk about, something more progressive. And I'm going to hang up now. I'll take my 5 minutes that I didn't get last meeting some other time. See you at the memorial celebration. Thank you.
I neglected to mention that we have with us tonight Bill Lewis, who's our city engineer. He's been here since the first part of the year, but tonight was his first night in the hot seat with Director Reese being gone. So, Mr. Lewis, thanks for being with us tonight. We appreciate you being on board, and welcome to Peoria City Council meetings. That's it for citizens to address. Madam Clerk.
We have an executive session.
Mr. Leist.
Yes, Your Honor. A motion would be appropriate pursuant to Section 2C1 of the Illinois Open Meetings Act, which exempts the discussion of the performance of a specific employee, as well as a motion would be appropriate pursuant to 2C21, which exempts the discussion of previously closed minutes.
We have a motion to go into executive session. Councilman Graves, seconded by Councilwoman Jensen. Seeing no discussion, please cast your ballots. Councilman Montalongo.
I approve.
That motion is unanimous, and we have a motion to adjourn by Councilmember Sear, seconded by Councilmember Euler. Seeing no discussion, please cast your ballots. Councilmember Montalongo.
I approve.
Okay. That motion passes unanimously. We'd like to thank H. Wayne Wilson and his listening audience at WCBU as well as Cable Channel 22. This meeting is adjourned.